A couple of months ago, I made a video where I had an unlimited budget to build a 10 watch collection from scratch. Why 10, you ask? Well, then you have to watch my I have an Excel sheet video, because it turns out 10 watches is actually the perfect number for me. After that video, I did a $5,000 per watch maximum video. And this time around, we've gotten to $1,000. These are watches that I would personally wear and would have in my own collection. Watches that I think are great and pack a whole lot of punch. Now let's dive in. First up, I'm changing this to euros. The US dollar has tanked since January and tariffs are making this an impossible task. So I'm framing everything in terms of euros. And the first watch is a Seiko, and it's a Seiko Alpinist. It's a legitimate icon. You don't have to spend 10 or 20 or $50,000 to get an iconic watch. For 1,000 euros or less, you get the Alpinist. It's just under 40 millimeters in size. It's 13.2 millimeters thick. It has 20 millimeter lugs. It's got dual crowns to operate the internal bezel and the movement itself. The model I prefer is the European-only blue dial version, but there's also a classic green dial if you prefer that. This watch has a specific party feature that I really like, and that is it can be dressy, it can be rugged, and it's literally one of those strap monster kind of watches. If you give it a NATO, it's going to work as a field watch. If you leave the leather on or you go for a brown alligator, you've got something that can do the job as a dress watch. You can't really go wrong with an Alpinist. And I think it has the bonus feature that it is a legitimate icon. It's a watch that gets respect from, the nerds. Not that you should care, but it just is that level of iconic watch. The next one isn't an icon, but at least is a historical design that's respected, and it's the Yema Superman Heritage. You can't get it with a steel bracelet for under 1,000, but you can get it on rubber, which I think is preferable for a diver. Yema have their own in-house movements, but in this version, at this price point, they don't offer it. So this is the Sellita SW200 movement, which has 42 hours of power reserve. It's got a 39 millimeter diameter. It has a 48 millimeter lug to lug, and it's 11.3 millimeters thick. The Yema has a unique crown locking mechanism, which I honestly think is a bit fiddly, but it's part of its original design. And I know from the people at Yema that when they released a model a while ago with the crown lock gone, diehard fans were really unhappy. So, resistance to change is clearly a thing. Personally, I go for the blue model, both bezel and dial are blue, and it's in a shade that isn't quite navy, but also isn't, Asher. It's a great color and it gives this watch a good amount of pop. It's entirely capable as a diver. Yema, just like Tudor, also have models that are dedicated to the French Marine National Forces. This isn't one of them, but it doesn't really detract. You get a gorgeous watch, and I'm going for distinctiveness in this collection. I don't want something that reminds me of a Rolex or some other luxury brand, and this one delivers in spades. If you're new to this channel and you're busy figuring out which channels you want to subscribe to in the watch universe, and you're not subscribed to mine, please consider subscribing. It helps out the channel massively. Thanks a ton. Next up, Baltic. It's a French brand. Again, 36 millimeter case, 44 millimeter lug to lug. It's got a Chinese Hangzhou movement inside. It's got a Heslite crystal with 300 meters of water resistance. Baltic have a lot of cool watches. Some of them definitely find their inspiration in high-end brands' back catalogs, but I don't care. They put enough of an original spin on it to stand out from the crowd, and the blue sector dial with curvy fonts and off-center sub-seconds is massively appealing to me. It's a relaxed casual watch that screams chinos and even linen. It wears exceptionally well. Some people might find it a little bit small, but personally I think it's perfect. It's got character, and that's what I'm looking for. I would be getting a Studio Underdog watch, specifically a Goofy Panda. 600 euros for a chronograph. The reason I go for the Goofy Panda is because it's not too much. I know for a fact that I'd get tired of a watermelon or a pink lemonade or some other unusual combination. I'm playing it as safe as I can, which is sort of counter to the idea of Studio Underdog. It's not particularly goofy, but rather it's a non-traditional take on an otherwise relatively standard Panda configuration. Studio Underdog aren't really watchmakers at all, but Richard & Company do understand aesthetics, color theory, and design, and this is what this kind of watch delivers. The movement is also a bonus. A lot of people knock the Seagull ST1901 for reliability and accuracy, but it's just a good looking movement. Standard Sellitas and Ettas all look the same. It's a base plate, it's some sort of 3/4 bridge plate, and then a big giant rotor. The ST1901 has a bit of what a manual wind 3861 movement from the Speedy has as well. The finishing isn't excellent. It's definitely rough around the edges, but the stuff to look at, and my technical term of bits and doodads applies. It's a movement that does invite you to take an extra look. I want a G-Shock and I want the 5610U. It costs less than $300. I want it in black, and specifically I want the 5610U because it has tough solar technology. Changing batteries is annoying. I don't like doing it, and I never have the battery on hand when the watch inevitably dies. This one will potentially last me a lifetime, and it has all those functions that you expect from Casio. You can set it to different time zones, and you can spend a weekend figuring out which combination of buttons you need to press to set it back. You can set the time, maybe, or you might just turn on the alarm and be woken every night at 3 in the morning, vowing to turn it off the next morning, but then you forget to do it, and then you repeat the cycle for at least a week before you fix it. And inevitably, you kind of fling the watch full force across the room in frustration, but the thing won't break because it's a G-Shock. It's a fabulous watch. And again, it's an icon. I actually want a Weye Dirty Dozen mechanical watch. I reviewed it a while back and I really liked it. It used to be just under $1,000, but it has increased a little bit in price as far as I can tell. Likely it's because of tariffs. It's now $1,099. Since I'm buying it from the US, I would still have to pay for the tariff that Weye is incurring for shipping their own watch to Europe from the US. Fortunately, though, the US dollar has kind of tanked as well, or depreciated by 12-15%. So $1,099 is, as of making this video, less than 1,000 euros, including import fees. I might not be able to get it on a steel bracelet, but if I'm saving on one or two of the others, I could do it and allow myself to go just a teeny tiny bit over budget. Again, I'm going for this because it's an iconic design. The Dirty Dozen watches were just that. They were 12 watches from 12 different brands who were contracted by the British War Department, which maybe might have been called something else at the time, to deliver watches to military personnel in serving for the Second World War. Weye isn't one of those brands. They didn't exist back then, but they made a version of the design that is sufficiently unique to be original while still faithful to the design constraints set by the government at the time. It's got a ghost date, which I talk about ad nauseum, but I'll survive. I like this kind of design. $300 for a Timex. I'm not going PRX. It's the Timex for me when it comes to an integrated bracelet watch. It's not a mechanical watch. It's not as solid as the PRX. It's actually decidedly dinky in terms of build, but it's just a cooler watch as far as I'm concerned. Is it in part because of the Pepsi GMT style bezel? Absolutely. At 38 millimeters, it's going to wear well on my wrist. It's a slim watch, and with that low profile, it works well with pretty much any clothing. The bracelet is what you'd expect at this price point, but I don't really care. It's got charm, and it has the looks that I know works for me. Of all the watches I've talked about so far, this one would be a contender for the most likely to be worn the most. And I know this based on my usual tastes. Full disclosure, I have not actually had hands-on on the new Casio Edifice mechanical watch, which is a mistake on my part. Based on reviews alone though, I kind of want it. In black on a rubber bracelet, that's the one I watch. This watch is significant because Casio have upped the game in terms of what they offer quite a bit. For the last couple of years, Seiko have been falling behind in terms of good options at low price points, and the space has been filling up with Chinese factory brands like St. Martin and Eddie's Dive that you get decent specs and decent finishing for a really affordable price. But now, Casio have thrown their manufacturing know-how and power at affordable mechanical watches, and pretty much everybody who has had hands-on has praised this watch. It's solid, it's well-specced, they haven't half-assed on a stamped bracelet, they go fully milled with adjustment options. The black carbon version is a tad more expensive, but I want that look. Getting a steel model would just compete with the Timex or the Alpinist, and I'd go for getting both a steel and a carbon model, but when push comes to shove, I think carbon black is the way to go. I'm going to have to wait till this watch comes on a discount. The Swiss franc is strong and it hurts my options a little bit, but I'd be willing to live on gruel for a couple of days if it meant I could afford this watch. It's another diver, and so what? I like divers, I wear divers, and it covers the space that an FXD might cover if I had more money. It's the quirky, it's the special diver, and it's probably also one I should add to my collection no matter what. It's the Satina PH1000M. It's 43.5 millimeters. It has 1,000 meters of water resistance. The movement inside is the Powermatic 80, which isn't exactly a sexy movement, but ETA makes stuff that works, and you're getting a lot for this price. It's not that I care really that much. It just looks cool. It doesn't look like a regular desk diver, but it inhabits the space of the Willard or a Squale 1521 or a Doxa. The case design just communicates that it's a much more capable watch. Not that it matters. I don't even have a bathtub, so odds are this watch will go underwater maybe once every 4 years. But when I do, I can sink all the way down to 1,000 meters without the watch falling apart. Me, on the other hand, not so much. The last watch is a watch you buy in an airport, but not at the watch store. They have it in the tax-free section, often next to perfumes, M&Ms, and alcohol. It's almost a fashion watch, and I also don't care. It's the Victorinox Swiss Army Quartz, which costs around $500-ish. It's 42 millimeters, 11 millimeters thick, 21 millimeter lugs. It's got a quartz movement inside. It's got more than a little bit in common with a Longines Zulu Time, but on a mesh style strap, it's sporty and also a little bit dressy. A lot of cheaper watches tend to very clearly look cheap. It comes down to a mix of being too big and too blocky and not always getting the proportions right. Diesel and fossil watches often make these mistakes, and you get these monster watches that aren't ugly, but they just signal not good, at least sometimes. This one doesn't. It looks like a regular watch. It feels solid like a regular watch, but it is kind of a mall watch or an airport watch because they sell it in malls and they sell it in airports. But the layout is good, the individual components are well thought out, and it's well proportioned. Yes, I've tried. The mesh strap for the price is decent. It's not as good as the one you get on an Omega, but it is at least thinner and wears better. That's it. All the watches. I've done this exercise 3 times now, and I have to be totally honest. With the unlimited budget, I obviously didn't feel constrained in any way whatsoever. At $5,000, I didn't feel constrained either. I could get pretty much exactly what I wanted. But at $1,000, it was a little bit harder. The G-Shock was always going to be there, but for, example, an integrated bracelet watch, I wish I could have gotten to just around 1,200, 1,500 for something like a Christopher Ward 12. That's just going to be that little bit better put together. Even the Yema, I wouldn't replace it with a watch that isn't a Yema. I would just love the ultra slim version with their in-house micro rotor movement. I don't think I'd be unhappy if I knew less about watches. Actually, I know I wouldn't. All of these watches are fabulous, but I just know for some of them, for $300 more, I might get the same watch with a custom in-house movement or COSC certification, or I'd get a bit better bracelet on some of the watches. Tiny things that might matter, but there's always going to be, some level of envy, and you can always ask for more. And, I'd be happy. I mean, I've spent, in theory, $10,000 on 10 watches. I could just ditch one and then upgrade there. So that's my list. What's yours? Share in the comments. Like, subscribe. Cheers.